People of the internet! Welcome back to another video. It is I, Don Thomas, back in here with another one. As always, folks, the likes, the comments, the subscribes are all greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for the support on this channel. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into today's topic, folks. Got a video pulled up here. Comes from BBC News, which details the breaking news that is set to unfold effective Monday of Donald Trump signing a ban on travel to certain countries, 12 countries in particular, of course. I'll share my thoughts. I encourage you guys to share your thoughts down in the comment section below. Let's get into it.
We begin in the US, where President Donald Trump has signed a travel ban to stop people from 12 countries from entering the United States. The proclamation, which is similar to an executive order, also partially restricts people from 7 other nations, including some in Asia. The 12 countries affected are Afghanistan, Chad, the Republic of the Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Myanmar, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen. He also said he was partially restricting and limiting the entry into the US of nationals from an additional 7 countries. They are Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan, and Venezuela. President Trump spoke about some of his reasoning behind the move.
The recent terror attack in Boulder, Colorado, has underscored the extreme dangers posed to our country by the entry of foreign nationals who are not properly vetted, as well as those who come here as temporary visitors and overstay their visas. We don't want them.
Our North America correspondent, Jake Kwan, has the latest from Washington.
President Trump said this proclamation will go into effect next week on Monday. So if you do not already have a visa, if you do not already have a refugee status, you will be restricted from entering the country. And President Trump promises that this measure will protect Americans from future terrorist attacks or any kind of threat on American lives. And he actually pointed out the Colorado attack, where a man who was staying in America, according to the White House, illegally had thrown a Molotov cocktail at a group of protesters as one of the reasons to introduce this kind of travel ban. However, there's no explanation of the fact that Egypt, where the suspect of the Colorado bombing is from, Egypt was not included in this list of countries. So there's some inconsistency there, as well as there is the question of how long can this proclamation stay. In the first time he did this in 2017, the proclamation of travel ban, which he dubbed Muslim ban, which slapped against majority Muslim countries, was bogged down in the American court system, facing multiple challenges in different courts across America, and then it had to be amended multiple times before it was eventually held up by the Supreme Court. So it faced a lot of challenges the first time, and it is expected to face similar challenges the second time, including political and legal.
Let's pause it right there. So there you heard it, folks. Donald Trump has issued a travel ban on 12 countries, with an additional 7 countries, I believe, of course, with partial restriction here in the United States. Of course, this struck my interest because my country, my native country of my parents, my mother and father, hailing from Sierra Leone, is part of that list. That's what originally caught my attention. Sierra Leone, of course, West Africa, has its own issues that's going through right now, and I think I know why we made the cut, or we made the list, or how we got caught up in the fold. But of course, that's a partial ban. Of course, they're just heightening the restrictions on people being able to go back and forth from that country. But as far as the other countries that were listed, of course, you guys saw of the 12 countries that were listed, of course, very serious business, folks. Very serious business. Of course, these are the countries you see here. Some just to name a few: Haiti, Chad, Sudan, Republic of Congo, Somalia, Yemen, Afghanistan, Iran, Libya, Eritrea, Equatorial Guinea. Effective Monday, people don't have the freedom to travel from there into the United States. Now, of course, according to Trump, this is a preventative measure to see to it that, potential terrorist attacks or whatever the cases don't transpire. But folks, when I see things like this, it brings concern to me for multiple reasons, to be completely honest. One, it reminds me of, it gives me 2020 vibes, right? If you know, you know. Of course, I don't know what words I could say on here, on YouTube, whatever the case is, on these platforms. But it reminds me of 2020, where borders were closed, flights were restricted, this, that, and the other. People were told to stay where they were. It kind of gives me those vibes of banning this and people can't come and go, whatever the case is. That's one of the concerns. And it also reminds me of just like the heightened growth of discrimination, right? So it just kind of makes me feel that the people who are American citizens but maybe do have heritage or, lineage from these countries, you already see what it is in terms of just like racism and discrimination here. That's a problem that I feel like we've always had here in the United States. But God forbid you know somebody that's from these countries, and Americans do have the tendency, just humans in general, I should say, do have the tendency to be ignorant at times. You may start discriminating from people if you hear a little accent from them, or that you know somebody that's maybe from these countries, and now you heard that now, oh, this is on a travel ban, and Trump are, alluding to the fact that these people have terroristic ways. You might start seeing a little bit of discrimination and the evil eye when you're out and about, assuming that you are a native of the United States, living here in the United States. So when I hear things like this, folks, it kind of just concerns me. Travel bans on specific countries, calling out certain countries for specific acts, whatever the case is, it kind of just, I feel like, adds fuel to the fire, you would say, in terms of just like the racism and the discrimination that's already taking place here in this country. So I don't know, folks, when you start banning people from being able to go places, people feel a way about that, right? People can't travel freely, of course, whether they have their passport or their visa or whatever the case is. People start to feel a way about that, man. Restricting any restriction of people's rights. Also, I feel like it's just something that rubs people the wrong way. I feel like this list, who knows, for all we know, could even grow. Again, there's 12 countries that Trump has signed the travel ban on, and a few others, of course, with partial restrictions on these countries, folks. What if this list continues to grow? What if Trump wakes up one morning and says, you know what, let's add a few more countries? Or, you know what, let's just close all entry to the United States. Nobody come to the United States no more. It's just like, it's hard to kind of pinpoint. Again, I'm assuming these countries have certain reasons as why they made the list, of course, whatever the case is. I'm loosely familiar with the things that, of course, I think we're all loosely familiar with the things that are happening in some of these countries specifically. But still, folks, is this the solution? And what do we say to the people that are in the United States, who are from these countries, who have heritage and family and loved ones and family members from these countries as well too? What do we say to them? I just kind of see how this can maybe go on a downward spiral towards just, again, the rise in discrimination and racism that we're already witnessing in this country and around the world. Again, Trump hails this as a precautionary measure, saying that this can maybe protect America from any future terrorist attacks and this, that, and the other. But travel bans, things like travel bans and any type of restrictions, man, again, on people's free will to be able to move, always just gives me vibes of the year 2020, right? And my only fear is that this list continues to grow with countries. Trump wakes up one morning and says, here's a few more countries that there's a travel ban on. I just fear that this could grow out of hand at a rapid rate, at the whims of reasons that may be legitimate or not. So those are just my thoughts. Of course, I want to hear yours down in the comment section below. If you have any family members or loved ones who are affected by the travel ban, definitely let me know down in the comment section below. As I mentioned, of course, Sierra Leone was one of the countries that was listed as the partial restrictions effective Monday. Of course, at the time of recording this video, this is set to take place in just a few days. It has reason to raise some concerns. So those are just my thoughts. Of course, I encourage you to share yours down in the comment section below. As always, the likes, the comments, the subscribes are all greatly appreciated. I will catch you guys on the next one.